Hi everybody, welcome to the video. This week it's about writing a PhD advert. Hi, welcome along to this academic channel. My name is Caroline. I'm a senior lecturer based here in the UK. So I work at a university and I research and teach and specialise in physics. And this week I thought maybe I'd share a little bit about writing a PhD advert. In previous videos, I've chatted all things PhD and funding and how some PhDs have dedicated funding that come with them and some PhDs are speculative, so you put up an area that you're interested in as a supervisor and sometimes people apply to it with their own funding. In this case, I've actually got a PhD advert that's about to go out and it's for a PhD which has been awarded student stipend and bench fee funding. And so what that means is that I can offer to a student effectively a paid position. So it's a paid research stipend and your bench fees will be covered and your tuition fees will be covered in order for you to do a piece of PhD level research. And I thought I'd share just a little bit about how I get an advert ready for this at my university. Every university then is going to have its own process for advertising PhD positions, but I imagine they'll be fairly similar, at least here within the UK. And so the first thing that I have to do is complete an internal form for my university. So it has the typical things you'd expect to see. I have to list out the title of the PhD, a short description of the PhD project. I have to note down the supervisors, and that can be non-trivial because you need to have your primary supervisor, who is an academic at the university. You'll also need to have at least a second supervisor, so that's another named academic, and that needs to be somebody who can be connected enough to the project to take it over or step in if they need to. You might have a third member from the academic department or the university you're at. Maybe it is a PhD that straddles multiple departments, so maybe your PhD supervisory team will actually need academics with expertise from different areas. And of course, also you may be doing a PhD where you need to have industrial supervisors listed as well. And I've had a few of those go through the system. So it's not just a case of writing down my name. I have to make sure that at least at the minimum, it's my name and then the second academic supervisor from the university. But as I said, it can be actually quite a few more names if you want to. And then when I'm writing that project description, I need to make it fairly short. These things shouldn't be too long, but also accurately describe the actual technicalities of the project. So in this case, it is money that's been awarded to do a particular piece of research. And so I need to make that clear in the advert. Unlike some PhDs where students come to you with an idea and say, hey, could we maybe work this up into a proposal together? This particular PhD is a piece of research that basically I've designed and has been approved for funding by a particular research body. And that means that PhD therefore needs to match that research area. And so my job advert needs to be a true reflection of that particular PhD project scope. And of course, PhD project scopes might vary a little bit as you start. It's quite typical to start a project in year one, and then maybe there to be a bit of flex on the project topic as you get more involved and understand more about the research and explore it more. But in the main, that project, that funded project, is going to reside within that funded research area. And so then after the project description, there is then often a section about project technicalities. And so some projects are going to have entry requirements. Typically for PhDs, you're looking for a 2-1 in your first degree. It will vary though, so different PhD will have different requirement levels for their entry point. And one thing you need to be very clear of in your advert is the funding, and if you have got awarded funding, if there's any restrictions on who that funding applies to. And so in some cases, you may find that you have funding that will accommodate, I don't know, a certain group or sector, maybe a UK home student. Sometimes you'll have funding that can cover for an international student to apply. You just need to make it clear in the advert which level of funding you have and any restrictions or limitations. You may also want to put in this kind of section as well about requirements, any technical requirements that it would be really beneficial for the student or essential for the student to have. So alongside that project description, if you're doing something using a particular computer code or a particular piece of equipment, quite often you'll see that listed as, would be beneficial or desirable or essential for the incoming applicants to be able to show that they have experience of using that particular code or piece of equipment. Another thing you might often see as well is language requirements. So here in the UK, they have a requirement that people applying to the positions need to be able to be fluent to a certain level within English. I'm pretty sure that other countries do the same thing. I know that I would probably struggle if I was going to try to use some of my very basic French and German. I think it's amazing how people are able to do research in multiple languages. It's so impressive. But yeah, you need to look out for that as well. So if you are an international student in particular applying to a different country to your home country, you need to check out if there's any language requirement for the country that you're applying to. And so when you're writing your PhD job advert, you need to make that clear. And then at the end of this job advert, you need to put a little bit of information about how you actually apply. So quite often there'll be like a central email address, or they'll list the email addresses of the academics. And there will typically be a closing deadline. So here in the UK, often you can start your PhD at 4 points in the academic year. I think it's January, April, July, and October. Could be wrong, but they're the 4 that pop into my head. And so there are rules about how long in my university you need to make your advert available for people to apply to. And there's also requirements about the last date that you can have as a closing date for your PhD advert if you want the person to begin the research post in the next quarter. So there's a date where you have to get your advert completed and out by if you want that person to start at the next available PhD start date. And so once you've got all that information together, then what I do is I would send off that PhD advert request form to my central recruiting team. And from there, they work their kind of magic on the system. And so they're the ones who make that advert actually live on the various locations. So often you'll find it on like findaphd.com, you'll find it maybe on the university web pages, you might find it on other PhD listing sites, but I don't have to do that myself because I've completed that paperwork and that form. The central team will then promote and advertise the PhD for me. Now, obviously, though, as the academic, I want to be productive and try to help get maximum reach for this PhD advert. So I might put it out on my personal social media channels. I might put it on my personal university profile page. If I've got contacts at other universities, I'll use my network. And I might say to them, well, just so you're aware, I've got a PhD funding coming up. Because typically you might have students who are completing their bachelor's and master's at one university and looking to transfer to another university for their PhD. So it can be useful to kind of spread the word a little bit about your PhD with your network. And then that's it. And then you wait for that closing deadline, you see what applications come in. And then the next step of the process is sifting your applicants and going forward to interview. But I can save that for another video because I don't like these videos to be too long. So do let me know, have you had to write PhD adverts? Are all of your PhD adverts like open so people can apply speculatively? Or do you put PhD adverts out for specifically awarded pieces of funded research? I tend to do a mix of both. Let me know how you kind of prepare your PhD ads. But in the meantime, I hope things are going well. We're now, week 7, I think, of our semester. So yes, it is still going. We're still teaching. It is, full is the wrong word. It's busy. Life is very busy in the academic point in the calendar, but it's good and it's good fun. So I hope things are going well for you. Keep looking after yourselves. If you're new around here, do hit subscribe. It's a fun academic space where we share ideas about all things university and academic related. But yeah, have an awesome week and I will see you next Monday. Bye.